Hello, and welcome to Direct Approach with Wayne Moorehead, an exclusive podcast by Direct Selling News, where host Wayne Moorehead interviews the channel's leading corporate executives to provide timely insights and relevant takeaways to help grow and evolve your businesses. In today's episode, Wayne is joined by direct selling legend and international business strategist Larry Thompson, whom the Wall Street Journal has called the architect of wealth building. With more than 54 years of experience in the direct sales industry, Larry Thompson was the mastermind marketing strategist who guided Herbalife to its first $1 billion in sales. Since then, he has gone on to create the Millionaire Training program, which he uses to teach basic business fundamentals to everyone from stay-at-home moms to school teachers and rocket scientists. Many of today's top direct sellers credit the Millionaire Training for teaching them the principles that led to their success. And Larry is also widely known as the mentor and coach of Rolf Sorg, founder and CEO of PM International. In 2021, PM International earned the DSN Bravo International Growth Award for achieving $600 million in year-over-year revenue growth and claimed the number 10 spot on the annual DSN Global 100 list with a total of $1.7 billion in revenue. Larry continues being a coach and mentor to many in the industry, using training concepts he developed more than 4 decades ago. Today on Direct Approach, Larry and Wayne talk about what has changed in direct selling, what hasn't, and what it means to both the companies and distributors. They talk about the importance of learning the fundamentals and significance of understanding the dynamics of audience, language, and behavior. And they'll also look at the role the gig economy plays in attracting and retaining talent, and why what attracts distributors today is much different than in years past. Before we get into the interview, we want to ask if you have registered for the DSN events that take place next week. The good news is there is still time to join us either in person or virtually. The events begin next Tuesday evening, April 19th at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for the virtual broadcast of the 13th Annual Global Celebration Awards. It's an evening of networking, fun, and recognition, and it's where the unveiling of the 2022 Global 100 list and more awards than ever before will be announced and celebrated at the Omni Hotel in Frisco, Texas. The live broadcast is free and open to all, including distributors and suppliers, so that everyone can celebrate together. Registration is not required to watch the live broadcast. To watch, visit directsellingnews.com/global-celebration on Tuesday, April 19th at approximately 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern to watch the awards portion of the program. Then, on Wednesday, April 20th and Thursday, April 21st, it is the Direct Selling University educational event at the same location and also available via live stream exclusively for active corporate direct selling executives. 2 value-packed days with 35 industry legends, experts, and new speakers who will share their stories, learnings, and insights. This truly is a must-attend event. The lineup includes executives from PM International, USANA, Monet, Red Aspen, Scout and Cellar, Prove It, For Life, Neora, Senegence, Amway, Plexus, It Works, Kiani, Norwex, Princess House, Pharmacy, Legal Shield, Zingular, and more. All of the presenters are ready to share their game-changing insights and perspectives with you. The in-person events are open to all active direct selling corporate executives. To register for DSU and to purchase in-person tickets for the global celebration, visit dsu2022.com. If you've already attended a DSU event, then you know how important learning and growing together as a community is for your business as well as the channel as a whole. Register today at dsu2022.com. We also want to thank this episode's sponsor and DSN premier supplier sponsor, Exego. In an industry that demands adaptability, Exego delivers unrivaled access to the data that drives your business, from CRM to transactions to commissions. Flexible, scalable, and powerful, with Exego, the possibilities are unlimited. Learn more at exego.com. That is EXIGO.com. And now, please help me welcome your host, Wayne Moorehead, and today's guest, Larry Thompson, direct selling legend and international business strategist.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. I am your host, Wayne Moorehead, and I'm honored today to be joined by one of the absolute greats. He's an international business strategist. He's been recognized as a DSN legend. The Wall Street Journal has referred to him as the architect of wealth building. He's known by many as mentor to the millionaires, and he's helped build some of the largest companies in the direct selling channel, including Herbalife and PM International. Mr. Larry Thompson, thank you so much for being here.
Wow, we appreciate it. Really, I'm excited about being here with your audience.
Yeah, I've been very excited to chat with you. You've been a leader in direct selling for 50 years now, and you have such incredible insight into the channel from multiple perspectives, from the field to corporate to advising and mentoring and so much more. You are the absolute perfect person to sit down and do kind of a deep dive, a state of the union or a state of the channel with, and really help us understand the past, present, and the future of direct selling. There's so much change happening. There's some really seismic shifts that are going on right now. And so I think it's really important to kind of look to the past, but also look forward. And again, there's no one better than you to help lead and guide this discussion. So thank you.
Well, listen, it's a pleasure to be here, like I said, and I'm hoping we can share some insights here that might help your audience. And so I'm ready. Let's go. Let's
awesome. I'm excited to learn. So before we dig in too deep into the questions, you have a really interesting kind of origin story. Every superhero has their origin story. So can you talk to us a little bit about the path that led you into the direct selling channel?
It's for me, it's a fascinating story because this is something I never ever considered doing, and we got to go back a ways. It's now been 54 years ago that I attended my very first meeting to explain what this phenomenon for me became. My background was not one of business at all, and I was probably the least likely person to ever think about wanting to be in call or recruit or anything, because I was a long-haired hippie construction worker. That's what I was. I never finished high school. And the reason I didn't finish high school, I didn't know how to study. If I could memorize it, if I could hear it, I'm an audio learner. If I could hear it, I could get it. But when it came time to doing what was required back then, which was the oral book report, I don't know if you went through that, Wayne, or not, but when I was growing up, you
Absolutely.
had the oral book report. And that meant two things. You had to read it, number one. And then number two, you had to write down something about it. And number three is where I had my problem, walking across the stage in front of my classmates. And I just too shy to give the oral book report. And after 2 years in a row, it became very clear that I was not going to graduate, and which was not the worst thing for me, because very few people went to college back then. Okay. And, you see that movement shifting again today. Okay. That kids are thinking out, what's the value of going to college when I can come out and do all the stuff I can do today? And back then it was trades. It was trades is what you could do. And I knew what I was going to do. I was going to get involved with my construction work family, my brothers, my uncles, my cousins, my dad. And we all did cement work. I worked on my hands and knees. And I knew what I was going to do when I got out of high school was that. So it wasn't other than my ego of quitting school and feeling, how that makes you feel when you do stuff like that. But other than that, I was just not the guy. I was happy, very, very happy with what was going on in my life. I never thought, Wayne, I never crossed my mind to think about doing something else. I never crossed my mind. But I got that call that night. And I got to tell you, it was something that's very, very interesting, because that call came at about 6:30 on a Monday night. And it came from another construction worker friend of mine, Mike Fuller. And he said, hey, listen, there's a new venture going on here, and I think it's going to be good. I'm involved in it. I'd like you to take a look at it. I quite frankly, didn't push me until he said it was going to be at the Hyatt Hotel in San Jose. And so when he told me it was at the Hyatt Hotel, it sparked me up, because I'd never been in a hotel in my life. Never. And this is just, wow. So I said, call me back. I said, let me think call me back in about 15 minutes and I'll let you know. But as we went over there, Wayne, all the way over, Mike was, I had no idea. All I was thinking about was that hotel and getting back on the job the next day and telling the guys what happened. But that fateful night was unbelievable for me. Fortunately for me, the individual giving that meeting that night was Bobby DePew. Bobby DePew is the absolute most single unsung hero in our space because of the philosophical, strategical approach that he taught, because he was a school teacher and he was a science teacher. And he came from this very small community in Lindsay, California. And he had a way of communicating that you could communicate with anybody, be it somebody's grandmother or the long-haired hippie. And Bobby, I felt like he was talking to me and nobody else in the room. And quite frankly, I still wasn't thinking about doing it. They had people talking about income and all that stuff. It was there, but it wasn't until the end of the meeting. And boy, did this affect me. It has affected me every day of my life since. He said, it's obvious that we're making a lot of money here. And when it's obvious, okay? And no matter what, if it's obvious, you can taste it and smell it. Nobody has to say it, you know it. He said, it's obvious that we're making a lot of money here. And he said, I'd like to promise you that each one of you can make the money that we're making, but I can't. He said, but I can promise you this. What if it only works out 10% for you, that it's worked out for us? And that got me. I said, what if? And that was very significant. The second significant thing that happened at my first time I was in a hotel in my life, there was another guest there that night, and he joined the same company the same night. And it was Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn and I joined the same company the same night. And Jim very quickly became vice president of training. And it was very fast. The very first training class I ever attended was Jim's, but we know Jim from the stage. We know Jim from all the tapes and the messages that are out there and the big seminars. Okay, that first training class that I went to with Jim, it was as a distributor. He was talking to his team, but he opened it up to everybody in the company because that's what they wanted. They wanted to prove out. They wanted everyone to accept him coming in as vice president. And I got to tell you something, Jim, and I got him right away. And I did something very unusual. It was very out of character for me. And I waited till that meeting was over, and I almost didn't go. And the reason I didn't go was $10 ahead. And it was his title of that training was PMA, Positive Mental Attitude. And I had no clue what a positive mental attitude was about anything. I knew about an attitude about flipping my hair and doing all that right, and doing all the construction workers scratching at the right time. I knew about all of that, but I didn't know what a positive mental attitude was. But I'll tell you what happened. I got two very significant things out of that training class, and probably everybody gets the same thing. For things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. I always thought it was my mother-in-law, my boss, and all that, but I got away from that. That impacted me. And the other thing was when he talked about the diseases of attitude. Those things really helped me out. And long story short, they took me under their wings, and I had no idea about this till years later, because Bobby and Jim and I became very, very close friends forever. And but what they were doing, I didn't realize it was, they were putting me in front of all of these cigar smoking 3-piece suit guys as, hardcore salespeople, and saying, what's wrong with you? If this guy can do it, why can't you do it? I was number one in the company, and I didn't know it. They never did stuff like that back then. Okay. Wow. And I didn't know it. And they were using me, and they saw that desire, that willingness and teachability. And those guys changed my life. And all of that, Wayne, all of that led up to the start, all of that into the 60s and all the way through the 70s with all the challenges we had up to us when we started Herbalife.
That's incredible. What a fateful and impactful night for direct selling in general. I mean,
yes.
So many of the legends there at one place, all kind of joining there on the same night. That's pretty amazing. I loved what you said about what if, how that was such an impactful statement. I think that if we all took that perspective more often, then we would probably reach more and more of our potential. I know all of us kind of have a governor on or hit the edit button and say, that's not for me. I'm not really going to be able to accomplish that. But even if we just took a chance, I think it would open us up to so many more opportunities. I wish I had taken that advice more in my career and earlier in my career, but what incredible guidance and perspective to maintain.
Yeah. Now, on that what if statement, here's what's important about it. That what if statement has become, it's part of who we are today, because a lot of people use it. And but the what if today is been a little bit misguided. It's what if you're the Lamborghini bikini conversation is what I call it. Everyone said $10,000 a month in the first 90 days. What if you make that? Okay. Versus what if it's only 10%? Okay. Because that's where the audience is. The audience is in that lower amount. Because I was not a Lamborghini bikini guy. You wouldn't have got me with that. You wouldn't have got Jim Rohn with that. Okay, you would not have got Bobby DePew with that. You got it here. We moved up into our thinking, using it in this way. It allows more of like a person like myself to get started.
Absolutely. I think that 10% makes it attainable and makes it feel realistic, where you're right, the Lamborghini or the idea of standing in front of the jet or living your life on the beach. Yeah. So many of us would just go, you know what, I'll never be able to achieve that. But just giving kind of those realistic goals, those attainable goals initially, and helping develop people and walk them through that process. I mean, that's really what our companies need to be great about, is bringing people in early. No one comes in at the top. Everybody needs to come in. They need to realize that they do have the potential to become these sales leaders and leaders of teams. I think that's another amazing perspective on that. What if? There's so much to really unpack in that statement.
And the other thing about it is if you have the what if conversation, because it's a real conversation. Okay, what if it only turns out 10%? Okay, and from that, over the years here, I developed that into what it's Ron Henley that coined the phrase as the Thompson rule, but 80, 15, and 5. Okay. And this is the strategy. This is the philosophical thinking. This is what came from Jim Rohn and Bobby DePew to me, that I took to Herbalife to start that process off with this audience language and behavior. And 80% of the people on your team, 80% of the people on your team will be more than happy with $500 a month extra income. That has never changed. Since day one, it's never changed. Okay. And 15% of your people will be happy with $500 a week, and 5% $500 a day. And so you've got to build where the audience is. And so you've got to talk the language where the audience is, okay? And let that grow from there. And the worst part about, and I don't mean to belabor this, but the Lamborghini bikini talk, I think everybody understands what that's about. You said in front of the jets, nothing wrong with that, okay? But it does limit the audience language and to create the behavior you want in your compensation model. And the thing that I struggle with that today is the people try it. They believe, okay, I want that. And they end up starting to believe that they're not good enough. They're not tall enough. They're not short enough. They're not young enough. They're not old enough. And they can't do that. And they take it out on themselves, and they still want to do it. And they're out there always chasing a dream, as we always say. Okay. But at the same time, they're capable of doing remarkable things.
I love this concept, this framework of audience language and behavior. I think it's helped me to view what's going on right now even a little bit differently, and understand that there's always going to be these periodic shifts culturally, technologically, even socially. And I think that what's going on right now, again, looking back to the past a little bit, but there has been that really big move away from that shift from the Lamborghini, the overt opportunity that is not resonating really with the distributors and the independent business owners that are coming in today like it did before. The opportunity is still just as important as it's always been, but how they approach it and how they talk about it and how they engage and share it is very different. And I think that that's something that every company is wrestling with. So I love that you've been able to identify that there are these kind of periodic shifts within this framework. And this gives us a way to look at it and even anticipate, and maybe not be as concerned when, these changes come, because they're always going to be happening, maybe every 10 or so years. But looking back, you've been, as you mentioned, in direct selling for about 54 years. Direct selling stretches back more than 100 years. And it's always been this incredibly vibrant business model for companies. It's been a viable income opportunity for millions and millions of people throughout its history. In your mind, how has it managed to stay relevant for so long?
Well, unfortunately, it's not relevant as it used to be, and it's declining in a relevance stage, from my opinion. This is my opinion. All you got to do is look at the sales stats, okay? Starting around 2011, 2012, social media hit, okay? And all social media is faster, quicker, better. Social media has been with us forever, okay? It's a way of faster. What is the fastest way? I had to do social media within 6 months. I'm out of my center of influence, so I got to do social media. Guess what it was? Flyers on cars like at Walmart. What it was, business card flyer. Then what did it go to? Cassette tapes. Then what did it go to? Videotape, fax broadcast. Okay. I mean, you name it. Okay. It's always changed. It's a delivery system. Social media is a delivery system, and it changes rapidly. You got to build on basic fundamentals. And every entity of military, education, sports, okay, no matter manufacturing, no matter what it is, it has basic fundamentals and it's a foundation. Think about sports, baseball, run, hit, catch, throw. Where do you put your emphasis? Where do you put it? Run, hit, catch, throw? Do you take your focus off of run, hit, catch, throw because it's artificial turf versus real turf? Okay, delivery system. Do you take the emphasis off of what your foundation is, a run, hit, catch, throw, because it's an indoor stadium versus an outdoor stadium? Okay. Do you take the emphasis off of run, hit, catch, throw fundamentals, okay, versus an aluminum bat versus a wood bat? Okay. Your fundamentals of what you got to build on. And that fundamentals, the foundation for that is the 80, 15, and 5, identifying the audience, language, and behavior. 2015, it went like this, and the space has been struggling. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, okay? It's been struggling since 2015, with the exception of 2020. Guess what happened in 2020? Most people had a spike. Why? Because of external circumstance that temporarily gave them a new audience and with a language that they could identify with a behavior at that point. But it wasn't scalable and it wasn't sustainable. And you hear everybody, best year ever. 2020 was a great year for most companies, okay? But listen, we're in 2022. It's a different conversation today, okay? Because everybody's trying to adapt, okay, to not the fundamentals. They're not trying to force the fundamentals, in my opinion. What they're trying to do is adapt to the changing environment of social media, okay? And that audience, language, and behavior is not scalable and sustainable. But the people that can do that with the basic fundamentals, now you got a chance as a company to be something significant if you do that.
I love the idea of the fundamentals not changing and continuing to focus on those. I think the baseball analogy was really spot on. So always the how, I'm using that in quotes. The how is going to change. How you deliver the message, where you deliver the message, those different tactics and channels are always going to change. But the fundamentals are really kind of the why and the what that you do. And those should be more foundational. And I do think, again, there is a shift that's happening right now. And one of the questions I'd love to ask you, with your amazing perspective, so direct selling companies throughout its history have always led the way in so many areas. From a product innovation standpoint, I know you joined a company that was decades ahead of the time when it came to clean, green, non-toxic products. You were at Herbalife, where encapsulating and using herbal supplements was really new, was really innovative. From a category perspective, so many of the companies that are in direct selling are the largest brands in their category, whether it's hair care, whether it's weight management, whether it's beauty, whether it's personal care. We really led the way in leveraging social networks. Again, with your time at Herbalife and other locations, those social networks, that word of mouth is what really allowed it to scale really so quickly, which so many other companies and other channels didn't have the ability and understanding to do. And also with gig work, we were, as you've mentioned before, we were the only game in town for so long. If someone wanted additional income outside of their 9 to 5, there really weren't too many options. And in a moment, I'd love to dig in a little bit deeper with you on gig work. But why, in your mind, has direct selling, with all of these firsts, with all of these innovations, how has it not gotten the recognition that really I think is warranted with this type of leadership? Is it back to the expectations? Is it back to the, kind of overselling the opportunity to a few instead of really providing value to the larger group? I'd love your thoughts on that.
Okay. This is probably going to be an answer in a direction that most people are not going to agree with, but that's quite all right. Okay. I believe in it firmly. If we go back to audience, language, and behavior, okay, and we say that network marketing has we've led the way, we became very relevant, but the relevant you hit on, Wayne, okay, because we could offer the average person a chance to start right where they were without having to have money in their pocket, necessarily a large amount of money. You got to have, you got money and experience, okay? But more importantly, they believe they got to have the abilities that they walk in the door with day one to be able to move forward at that 80, 15, or 5 pace. They got to believe that they can do that. We've kind of done some things in our space, okay? Because of social media. And again, I'm a major fan of social media. I mean, I love it, okay? But at the same time, we got to deliver the right message to that group, which is vital. And yes, we were relevant in bringing products into the marketplace. How would an Herbalife exist or PM exist if network marketing wasn't the platform that they can go forward with, okay? But you got to understand scalable and sustainability. And so network marketing today is having difficulties, in my opinion. Look at the numbers, okay? And we look at the numbers. And as we look at the numbers, we look at sales numbers, okay? And if we look at sales numbers, okay, there's some that are doing reasonably well. There's exceptions to everything. You got a couple that are doing a lot, okay? They made a few changes, but it's got to be scalable and sustainable to keep those numbers going, okay? But at the same time, okay, they're competing. What the problem with network marketing, every network marketing company is competing with the next network marketing company. My CEO, my founder, my scientist, my Pulitzer Prize winner, my secret formula, okay? Those things are not scalable and sustainable in today's world because there's too much information out there. And we're not competing against network marketing. There's approximately 6 million people in America in the direct sales space. People like me, okay, long-haired hippie, okay, my sister, the lady truck driver, the waitress, okay, the waiter, everybody that fits that profile can make money today instantly with the gig worker, as a gig worker. 60 million people out there today, more than ever, that are looking for somebody to talk to them, that I have a way that maybe perhaps you might be interested, not sure if you are or not, got no clue, but would you be interested in finding out about it? And you know what? They're more interested in finding out about money today than your hair growth product, okay? As an example, and I use everybody's products, your immune products, your college, all of that stuff is great. Everybody's got good products out there. They're proud of them. They need to be proud of them. But that conversation takes a back seat to making $300 or $400 this week, fast and simple and easy. And if they can do it and not have to go through all of these hoops.
I want to double click on a couple things you said. I was kind of taking some highlight notes here as you were talking, going back to this concept of scalable and sustainable. Obviously, we want both of those levers. We want to have both of those moving in a positive direction. And I feel a little bit like on the scalable side, that really is more on the opportunity. The opportunity is going to allow you to really scale much quicker than companies and other channels. But the sustainability is that solid customer base, people that are always going to be there. And so I feel I'm really passionate about this as well. And I'm going to be touching on it a little bit more at DSU. But I feel that it's a question of and, not or. We have to do both. And I don't think we were great at doing both for a lot of years. I feel like from the corporate side, we didn't understand the concept of segmentation. And so we literally were kind of sending the same singular message to every audience, regardless of their path, their interests, their drivers, their motivators. And this is an area that we really need to get, I think, much, much better on. And this is a question for you. As it relates back to audience, language, and behavior, what's the company's responsibility versus the distributor's responsibility in marketing the opportunity? And let me kind of tell you why I'm asking this a little bit. That shift that you mentioned around audience, language, and behavior, they are distrustful of institutions now, of companies, of marketing, of advertising. And really they look to their peers for information on products, for information on companies. That's really the most trusted source for this group. So from a company, how do we balance, yes, where we communicate, yes, there's an opportunity that's involved with this brand that supports this product, but I feel like it's going to be more successful coming from a distributor than it is from corporate messaging. Can you share a little bit of thoughts on that, on kind of responsibility from us, or where is it going to be most effective coming from, corporate or the distributor?
Well, you've opened up a big can here to have that conversation. I'm happy to jump into it. And I'm very much aware that a lot of people have a different opinion of it, but that's fine. That's what makes this world go around. The button, lose weight, now ask me how, was designed for one thing in mind: to stimulate a conversation about your products and opportunity. Wasn't the products or the opportunity. It was to stimulate a conversation about it. How do I lose weight? Well, you're really interested in losing weight. How much would you like to weigh? What have you tried before? Well, let me tell you about this. And then you say, as a result, I became a distributor, and this is what happened to me. I got this many customers now. Today, they talk about customers, and they're not increasing the distributor ranks except through the auto ship and classifying those people as distributors. And they're not distributors. They're users. Fine. That's great. But you've got to grow your distributor base when you have something that's the conversation with, as my wife Taylor says, both oars in the water. Okay. And I'll give you a little story. She got started back in 1993, I believe it was. And she just had a new baby, and she needed to lose about 25 pounds. But she needed to make money because she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and is what she wanted to be. And she needed to clear about $800 a month to make that happen. Okay. So she was answering all kinds of ads, and all they were talking about was weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. Okay. It was the natural. Most distributors feel more comfortable talking about their products than they do their opportunity. Okay. If they don't understand how to mix those two together. And she was never really interested until one person, okay, that she called, because the Herbalife ads were everywhere. And they started talking about the opportunity, and she said she wanted to make $800 a month. And they said the way that you can do that is represent these products, okay, that are weight loss. And she now saw a way they got her interest with the $800. Everybody else had talked to her about weight loss. Now she got her interest. Now she wants to lose weight with this company that she's going to represent. And now she's like a lifer as a result of that. What I'm trying to say is your best customers are your distributor base. You've got to talk about both. And we shied away from talking about both, okay? The products are available. Listen, this cell phone is available. It's technology. We get customers, but let me tell you what, Apple sells it for $1,000. And they got every shopping strip mall you see. There's AT&T, there's Verizon, there's everybody out there. Why? Because they are distributors of selling this product. You got to have the distributor base increase. Now, how do you get that distributor base to increase? It's a complete 50% balance, in my opinion, about how to go about this. I make this money, and I did this opportunity because of these products. Because of these products, I make this money in the same one conversation. And it has to be tailored to audience, language, and behavior. And some of the training that we do now, it's called the 3 Ps: positioning, posturing, and presentation. Everybody puts the emphasis on presentation. That's the least important. The way you position it and posture it. Now, because you don't know if they're going to get results on this product. We believe it. We don't know if they're going to make money with us. We believe it. We want it, but we don't know. Okay. So you've got to be able to put it in the language form that the new person that's a school teacher can go out there and mix those two together. You got to be able to do, and it's not that difficult, but let me tell you what's happening. We have the company. You're asking now the company in the field, who does that?
Yeah.
If that question arises, which it always does, and it's big, okay, what can the company do? Can they offer branding? Can they offer a few things that will be able to give them some things to be able to offer that school teacher a little quick, fun, simple, magical video? okay, that will explain the products enough to be able for that school teacher to be able to mix in, I'm making the money because of the products. Here's the product. Now, another very simple thing about the opportunity. And would you like to do it or would you not like to do it? But now we've got them. You got to get into this group. Now you got to get into this format. Now you got to be on this Zoom. That stuff isn't working today. It isn't working. And that's what started happening in 2015. Okay. And you got to do all of this. And now they said, go get influencers in your business. Tell me how that's scalable and sustainable. You can't. And I love influencers. They can bring you big business. But let me tell you something. I saw 3 or 4 times now in the last 60 days where somebody came in that was just a regular person, long-haired hippie construction worker or a school teacher, okay, and did some kind of TikTok and sold $20 or $30 or $40,000 worth of volume, okay, overnight. We've all seen it. It's great. It's wonderful. But now to put that in front of everybody's face says that the lady truck driver, the long-haired, we got to do that to make that work. Okay, it's not scalable. Okay, and then the other thing is the people that have been trying to do that and they think that like to do that, now they're told you're inefficient. This girl did it. Okay, this single mom did it over here, or this school teacher did it over here. Why aren't you doing it? Okay, because it's personality driven, and you cannot build the fundamentals on personalities. The 5% crowd and fit, you can do that, but you can't. It's not scalable, not sustainable. So how much is on the company and how much is on the distributor? Unfortunately, the distributors don't know. They don't know, except the guys that are out there doing this social media platform, and they're very good at it. But that can't be duplicated. And now we got the company over here trying to find out the best of what's going on in the field and tried to bring it to the forefront. And it's theory.
Sure.
You go into that boardroom. When you go into that boardroom and you come up with those conversations, it takes 90 days. Listen, I've worn the shoes too many times. It takes 90 days to figure out, do we really want to do this? Okay. Then it takes 90 days to be able to implement it. And here's the biggest challenge. The next 90 days has got to be executed. Who's going to execute it? The field has got their belief system. Okay. And they want to go try the next new thing, they don't know how. And so it's a very thin line. But the distributors that are out there today are blaming the company for what's not happening, and the company has a tendency to say, we'll do anything they want, but we can't get a clear message from them what they want.
I agree. And I think from the corporate side, with our responsibility and kind of the going both ways, I feel like it's going to be most effective to arm the distributors in sharing that message. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I think that oftentimes as we're trying to figure out, are we opportunity driven? Are we product driven? Are we independent business owner driven or customer driven? We end up in this mushy middle where we have messaging that doesn't resonate with either audience. And I feel like, of course, on our public facing, to the uninitiated, the people that, whether it's through social, whether it's on your website, whether it's from a YouTube video where they're learning about your brand, shouting things like time freedom and residual income and come retire, like that's not resonating today like it might have 10 years ago. And so I feel corporate is, look, this is focus on kind of the why and the what. This is why we do it. This is our purpose. This is who we are. This is the value we provide. And let the distributors, I think they're going to be vastly more effective at selling the opportunity, obviously, and the product. But from an opportunity standpoint, than a company saying, come join us. Because as you mentioned earlier, with the gig economy, with the nature of competition changing, it's not as easy to get started. It's harder to go make that initial $100 or $200, meaning it might take a week or two. It might be a little bit longer depending on the pay cycle of the company. But I'd love your thoughts again on how do we help arm the distributors? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where I feel like the conversion, quote unquote, is really going to happen. And I mean more of like a sign up by conversion, where that's going to happen coming from a distributor, where if we're yelling opportunity from the rooftops, I think it's going to fall on deaf ears.
This is a big subject matter.
Yes. Yeah.
The company, let me backtrack. Let me tell you.
Yeah, please.
54 years ago, and let's talk 60 years ago, the company had a job description, and distributors had job descriptions. The job description for the company was to provide the products when ordered and provide the commissions when due, period.
Mhm.
Period. Okay. Then we got into this era in the 90s. There's four distinct generations of network marketing, which I have, it's somewhere on the website there that I put out probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it's more relevant today than it's ever been. But the four generations of network marketing and how it evolved from the 60s to the 80s. I don't want to take the time to go in here now, but it evolved to now who the master distributor is, who's the founder, who's the scientist, okay? Who's the founder of Uber? Who's the founder of
Correct.
DoorDash? What patents do they
I couldn't
have?
agree more.
Okay?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and they're making that because they're competing with the next network marketing company for that same small audience of 6 million. You got to go to the 60 million. Nobody cares.
Agree.
The owner and the formulator. And listen, even if you got the best product in the world with 29 million patents on it and the best master distributors and the best CEOs, okay, if you got them all I can tell you is at the end of the day, okay, that doesn't move the gig worker. The gig worker is moved by simplicity, fun, simple, magical, and it's moved by the fact that they got to get results. We always talked about results within the next 72 hours. It isn't income anymore. It's believability that they can do it.
With all these changes, with all these shifts, with these changes, as you said, in audience language and behavior, so many of us don't know how to move forward. I think we're a little bit kind of shell-shocked or paralyzed a little bit going, okay, the world's changed around us. How do we start taking some steps forward? I know you talk a lot about the importance of just taking action, of taking those first steps. Can you talk about what are the actions? What are some things that direct selling companies need to be doing right now, today, after they listen to this podcast, to make sure that they're relevant and thriving in this new environment?
You got to understand that the audience language and behavior is critical. You got to identify that, and that can be done. That's not a complicated thing to be done. The difficulty comes into place when all the decision makers don't trust it, or they don't trust themselves, and they move too slow. Today, you got to move fast. It's called, you got to miss faster. One of the things that they do when they're training special forces, okay, the Rogers course and the flat course, okay, the flat course, they just get out there and shoot. Then they get the Rogers course where they got to get out there and it's dynamic and it's moving around. And you know what? The best shooters on the static are embarrassed when it comes to the Rogers course. They're embarrassed because they're not getting it and they don't feel like they're good enough. Even the guys that are entering into the special forces, they don't feel like they're, you know what they teach them? Miss faster. Miss faster. Now that's a thinking. Listen, I know it takes 90 days to discuss it. Okay. And if you get it less than 90 days, you're just running out of necessity. And I've had to be in necessity mode many times. Okay. But it takes another 90 days to implement and another 90 days to execute it. What you got to do is put it together. And while you're putting it together, you got to be thinking about who's going to execute this, what we're coming up with here. And in the boardroom, it's theory. It's
really not about doing things different or adding more, but probably stripping away. And again, to your point of getting back to the fundamentals, back to those basics, do those things really well, do them right, do them often. And that's really how to thrive and succeed when everything else is changing, when tactics, when channels, when methodologies and approaches are changing. Back to your audience language behavior. If you stick to the fundamentals, you'll be able to ride these periods of change.
As long as you understand the distributor's job description and your job description.
Yeah, very important.
You get in a jet line in New York City and you dial in the GPS system for Los Angeles and you be a few degrees off. And when you land that plane and get off, you're in Denver. You did not crash. You did not burn. You're just not where you thought you'd be when you thought you're going to get there. You dial it in again, be a few degrees off, and you're in Phoenix. And that's what the best description I can give anybody out there today. You got to dial in the GPS system.
Yeah, I think one of the important lessons around GPSing is it's really about refinement. It's not revolution, it's evolution. As you're moving forward quickly, little refinements can have a really big impact. If you try to completely wholesale change everything on the move, it can potentially have disastrous consequences, but you can prove concepts really quickly, as you did with these focus groups. And I think that also demonstrates the importance of maintaining that connection and the field perspective. And I think that now with a lot of the technology and the tools, we have the ability to really partner with distributors, I feel like never before, and come together to really make amazing things happen. I want to shift. We've talked about where we've been. We've talked about where we are. And I want to kind of leverage your brain to look at where we're going and take a look out 5 or 10 years. What do you feel like direct selling looks like 5 or 10 years from now? And I know 5 or 10 years is an eternity in today's world, but yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll use 5 because I have no clue in 10 right now, except the same things are going to apply in 10 as it applies in 5, but what those steps are, they're going to be different. There's going to be fewer network marketing companies, which most people think is crazy because, opportunity today because of what's going on in the world. That part's true, but you're not competing with network marketing. And
Correct.
Network marketing is got to understand that they're competing with Amazon and they're competing with Uber and they're competing with TaskRabbit and those places where that 80% group lives. Okay, that 80% group lives. And in that 60 million, John Fleming's stats here, all we did was take John Fleming's book, The Ultimate Gig Book, before it was published. I was in research for him and working with him, and we started implementing this stuff, okay? But of that 60 million in America, okay, that breakdown is 25% is up to 35 years of age. 35 to 55 is 50%, and 55 and above is 25%. And everyone said, millennials. It's only 25% of the 60 million. That's all it is. 75% of that group is 35 and above. Okay. So you got to talk the language that they speak, the behavior that they do without negatively influencing this group over here, but not make this the goddess. There's going to be fewer companies doing bigger business. Okay. And they're going to need, in my opinion, they're going to have to adapt to where the competition is. And that competition is not network marketing. It's gig worker and gig provider. A gig worker is someone who sells. Okay. And that gig worker now can become a gig provider and provide an opportunity for someone else to sell. Okay. Now, is he responsible for that team? If I tell you, if I do Uber and I tell you about Uber, my job's done. Especially if Uber's paying me stuff, doesn't matter. Uber, I don't think is doing it at this point, but they probably will do something in that concept because the internet, all these guys out here that's doing the Amazon type of stuff have learned that you got to pay them here. Then they came up with you got to pay them residual, 1 unit of work or multiple units of pay. And now they're figuring out, hey, if I get them a referral fee, okay, and which I call gig provider, I can make more, but they'll never get the community. There's where network marketing has the edge. When you adapt these simple things in, the culture is automatic. Your biggest cultural development is 80, 15, and 5. Knowing that 80% of the people are going to be happy with 500 a month, period, no matter what happens. 500 a week for some and 500 a month for others, but you build on that. And guess what? The book that I came out with here a couple of years ago was actually a transcription of the original Millionaire Training tape, which many say that it's what's built our industry. And it has, because it's fundamentals. It's fundamentals. It's job description. It's daily. It's what you do with the information. It's a mindset of what you do. And now you just got to have something to market. Okay. And it's not an easy transition, Wayne. It's a very difficult one, but it's easy once the decision is made. When the hardest part, and I was taught this 54, the biggest struggle you'll ever have is making the decision. Okay. And we know we got to move faster. And we know, well, I got to take care of the field. I got to do that. Where does that perspective come from? Yes, you've got to do all those stuff, but what perspective are you doing that with? Okay. Again, I said lower sales volume, but distributors are earning more money. And now that becomes a conflict between the company and the field. Okay. But you don't have to jeopardize these guys' income. They're your bread and butter. What you do is you make it work at the bottom so they can keep that benchmark income and grow the bottom faster, quicker, better. Everybody's happy, okay? Everybody's happy. There's not a problem in the world that can't be solved. I was taught this 54 years ago by Bill Bailey. There's not a problem in the world that can't be solved if everybody involved sincerely wants to solve.
So to that point, if you had all the direct selling CEOs in a room together, what's the one piece of advice that you'd give them?
I would basic talk audience language and behavior. And for things to change, you got to change. And for things to get better, you got to get better. And I would say move quicker and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Let's get some focus groups going here under these kind of guidelines and let's go out here and get it done, but let's get it moving. Okay. You got to move. You cannot do it. Again, I was taught take 2 steps. If you don't have to see from A to Z like Walmart does, I don't know how to do that. I know how to take and see 2 steps and take one, and then there's 2 more in front of me and do that. And that's how you move forward with this.
We've covered so much ground. I feel like I need to go back and listen to this about 6 more times to fully absorb all of the insights and all of the ground that we covered. And while we did highlight some of the changes and the challenges that are happening right now, you also highlighted, again, the relevancy, especially in the midst of this gig economy, that our companies can offer, that the channel can offer, that promise of direct selling is still always there. Let's just make some fine tweaks. Let's GPS and, shift those dials slightly and take even more market share and become an even more relevant player in this amazing economy that's going on right now. You've been such an important mentor to so many people at the individual level, at the company level. You've had such an enormous impact. I really want to thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom. Give our best to your lovely wife. Tell her hello for all of us. And thank you for all you've done for direct selling.
Wayne, I very, very much appreciate that. It was an honor for me to be here with you and to talk at this level. It was an honor.
Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to subscribe to the podcast so that you are the first to know when new episodes are available. And we hope you join us in person or virtually for the DSN events beginning next Tuesday, April 19th through Thursday, April 21st. A reminder for everyone to tune in and watch the Global Celebration Awards on Tuesday, April 19th at approximately 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. To do so, simply visit directsellingnews.com/global-celebration. To register for DSU, which is open to all active corporate executives, you can simply register at dsu2022.com. We look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach Podcast.